Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be slightly different, well actually really different compared to what I usually do. So I've previously done a couple of vlogs and a couple of travel videos, but I'm relatively new to YouTube. I've only started this year. I've wanted to talk about this for a while now, so I thought I would just sit down and make these videos. It's going to be quite serious. I'm probably going to get upset. I'm feeling quite emotional today anyway, just thinking about it. But I think it's important to talk about to break the kind of stigma attached to it and, you know, everyone feeling guilty about these things. And so what I'm going to talk about is miscarriage, abortion and pregnancy and things like that. So if it's not your thing, that's fine. You can click away now. Please don't leave any bad comments below, just because I shouldn't have to ask that. I mean, it's a pretty sensitive subject. But I feel like telling my story might help somebody else, hopefully, and just raise a bit of awareness, I guess. I mean, everybody knows that miscarriage happens, and that's where I'm going to start my story. So I'm going to do this video about my miscarriage, and then I'm going to do another video about an abortion that I had recently, and talk about why I did it and what actually happened and the aftermath and all sorts. So I think I'm going to break up into two videos, or probably even more, I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk about my miscarriage. So just a little bit of background. So I am 30 years old now, just turned 30 2 days ago, and I've been with my husband for 8 years. We got married 3 years ago in the south of France, which was beautiful, amazing. We're so happy together and blah blah blah. And I've always wanted children. I've always been that person that has openly said I don't want a career, I don't want a job. Like, obviously I'd work to get money till I'm at that stage of being a mother, but I've always just wanted children. I've always just wanted to be a mum and to be pregnant and have children. Anyway, so 2 years ago I went on my honeymoon with my husband after a year after getting married. It was actually 2 years ago in May, and it's now April, so it's, yeah, literally 2 years ago. We decided we would start thinking about being pregnant. So we didn't want to particularly try to get pregnant, but we wanted to just we didn't want to try not to get pregnant, basically. So we stopped using condoms, and we had sex as and when we wanted to have sex, like any normal couple. So that was 2 years ago in May. So May, June, July went by and I wasn't pregnant, and then I think by July I started thinking, okay, maybe we should take this a bit more seriously. We do want to get pregnant. Let's think about when, you know, when I'm ovulating and when might be best to have sex. Like, we didn't plan it like that scene on Friends, but it was, you know, we just start to think, okay, well, this week I'm fertile, so if either of us are in the mood, let's, you know, think about it. Anyway, so then in August 2016 I found out I was pregnant. I remember on the Wednesday I think I felt pregnant, just because I had really sore boobs. They felt really heavy and kind of really tender to touch, or even not to touch. They just felt sore constantly. And I just felt pregnant. I can't explain it other than I just felt pregnant, and if you've been pregnant before you'll probably know what I'm talking about. So then the Thursday and the Friday, obviously I felt pregnant as well, and I told my husband Jeremy, and I said, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And he was like, why? And I was like, I just feel pregnant, I just think I am. I don't know why, I just think I am. So then on the Saturday morning we did a pregnancy test, and that came back positive, and I was pregnant. So we were so happy. We were over the moon. We couldn't believe it that it happened so quickly, and that in 9 months time we'd be having a baby. So we started talking, not too much, but just a little bit about, for example, because we were in a one bed apartment at the time, so we were talking about where the baby's bed would go, how long we would stay in this apartment, when we'd have to move, like when we should tell family and friends, when it would be due, and if it was a boy or a girl. You know, we thought we were having a baby, so we talked about it a little bit. So that was Saturday. And we actually went to a shop, I think it was IKEA or something, some sort of homeware shop, and then we bought a little toy. Sorry, I've got itchy nose. So we went to IKEA or something that day on the Saturday, and we bought a little toy for the baby, just because that was kind of like a, you know, a little present, like this is the present from when we found out we were pregnant with you. I think it was a little rabbit or something. Anyway, so we had Saturday being happy and excited, and Sunday. And then my husband's work, he used to work away quite a bit, so he was usually, so we lived in the south of France, so he usually went up to Paris for a day, or sometimes he would stay overnight. But it so happened that this week he had to go away for I think it was 4 nights. So on Sunday night he left. Oh, I don't know why that's upsetting me. On Sunday night he left, and I remember I cried when he left, and usually when he goes away for work, I'm fine about it, because, you know, I see him in a day or two and it never bothers me, but I didn't know if it was because I was pregnant and the hormones, or I don't know. But anyway, I remember I cried when he left that night. Anyway, so Sunday night I was on my own, it was fine. Monday at work it was fine. And I remember Tuesday night I'd got back from work. I'd had a bit of a tummy ache. And I had really bad cramps and a bit of bleeding, but it wasn't this might be a bit too much information, but it was, do you know when it comes out brown or like really dark red? So you kind of think it's been there, you know, towards the end of your period or right at the beginning of your period, when it's kind of a bit brown sometimes. It was like that. It wasn't too heavy, but there was definitely blood, and there was enough to worry me. But I looked online and it was saying that sometimes in the first 5 weeks or so, you can have spotting and bleeding because it's the embryo attaching to your lining, so not to worry about it. So I went to bed that night, Tuesday night, and I woke up on the Wednesday morning in absolute agony. And I just knew I was having a miscarriage, I just knew it. I had really bad stomach aches, like really bad period pains, and I was bleeding a lot. I was bleeding really heavily, so I rang my husband crying my eyes out. And I felt really bad because I knew that he couldn't do anything about it. I knew that he felt bad about it as well. Anyway, so he convinced me to go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor really early. I think he opens at 8:30 and I was there, I don't know, 7:30, 8, just pacing up and down the street waiting for him to arrive. And I went in there, and I had my husband on the phone on loudspeaker because I couldn't talk, just because I was crying so much because I knew what was happening. So Jeremy had to explain what I was going through and how I was feeling. So because it was in France, I couldn't think in French, so I had to speak in English, and then Jeremy would repeat it in French to the doctor. And he examined me, and there was a lot of blood, and he said it seems like I probably had a miscarriage, but I'd have to go for a scan to double check. So I then went to a local clinic, which wasn't far away, it's about 10 minutes walk, but they didn't open till 9:30, so I had to wait outside. I didn't have a pad on, I didn't have a tampon in. I think in the morning I was just worried about the bleeding, so I just wanted to get to the doctor and ask what was going on. I didn't think about how much blood there would be. So I waited around anyway. While I was hanging around, Jeremy called his auntie who came to be with me, so that I wasn't on my own. And while I was waiting for her, I had to keep drinking lots of water, because in order to scan an early pregnancy, you have to have a full bladder. I don't know why, but for some reason it helps with the scans. So for about an hour, once I'd been in there, so about 10:30 this was, so I spent an hour drinking water trying to fill my bladder. And Jeremy's auntie came, and then I had the scan. And he scanned it and said that he couldn't find a heartbeat. He said that my ovaries looked healthy, but just that I'd lost the baby. and he didn't seem bothered. He didn't seem to understand why I would be upset. It was very just like, yeah, there's nothing there, never mind. Which I found really hard. Anyway, obviously I was crying a lot and very upset, and then Jeremy's auntie drove me home, and she was very good with me actually, but she's one of these people who, you know, crying doesn't solve anything, so you just got to get on with it, in which I am most of the time, but when it's breaking your heart, it's really hard to have that mind frame. Anyway, so I went home and cried for the rest of the day and the rest of the next day. I think now I don't feel guilty, but the worst thing for me was feeling guilty, feeling like I was pregnant and then my husband went away and I couldn't even keep a baby alive. Like, how am I going to be a good mother if I can't keep a baby alive for 5 days? And that was really hard to deal with. And then because I couldn't speak to my husband a lot during the day because he was at meetings and doing his job, and then where he was with associates as well, so in the evenings he was going out for dinner with them, so I'd speak to him, you know, for an hour or two in the evening, but that was it really. And I didn't want to tell my friends just because I felt ashamed. I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I was overreacting. Like, nobody talks about how serious it is and how damaging it can be and how upsetting it can be. Like, it's just kind of brushed off like, oh, you had a miscarriage, never mind, you know, it'll happen again in the future. And it can be really, really upsetting and really, I just know that for me personally, I cried for 2 days straight, and then I went to work and had to deal with pregnant people and babies and mothers coming in, and it was really hard work to try and focus and to try and give them good customer satisfaction, good service. Yeah, I told my friends a couple of months later, but I didn't tell them at the time just because I don't know, I felt ashamed, I felt guilty, I felt like it was my fault, I felt like no one would understand me, I felt like I'd be blamed, like I'd done something wrong. There's a lot that goes on through your mind when that's happening. So I didn't tell anyone, so I carried on with work. I just had 2 days off sick because, you know, I just told my manager that I was having a really bad period. I didn't explain why, I didn't think I needed to. Yeah, and at the time that was the worst thing that could happen to me. I couldn't believe that I'd lost a baby. I couldn't, like, so growing up, all I ever wanted to do was to be a mother, to have children, to be pregnant, like I said earlier. Like, that's my goal in life, is to be a mother, not to be like a famous person or a doctor or a lawyer or an air hostess or a scientist, anything. I just want to be a mother, that's all I want to do. So to know that I had lost my baby and to feel guilty for that was horrendous. It was hard to get over it. And I feel like, so I had a really heavy period where there was lots of clumps of blood and tissue and things coming out. I bled for well over a week, heavy bleeding, probably heavy bleeding for a week, and then a couple of days of medium to light bleeding, which for me is unusual. I usually have 1 day of heavy, then 3 or 4 days of medium to light, and then it's gone. So to have a full week of heavy bleeding was really, it was quite actually a bit scary. And then it was another 6 weeks before I had my next period. I guess my body was getting back into, you know, its cycle. And then the next month and the next month I tried again to get pregnant, and I kind of feel like I should have given myself more time to get over what happened, and I wish I had done. So I guess my messages to other women is to give yourself time to heal. Don't feel like you're a failure, it wasn't your fault. Like, don't feel guilty for it. It happens so often, but just nobody talks about it. And I really do want people to talk about it more. That's why I'm doing this video. It's not for myself, not to, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's nice for me to talk about it, to get it off my chest a little bit, but if this helps one person to not feel guilty, or to not feel alone, or to not feel like it was your fault, then I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that, honestly. I really hope that if there's anybody out there who's going through the same thing, please, you can send me a message. If you want someone to talk to, someone who knows what you're going through, because I know what it's like none of my friends have been pregnant before, so none of them have had miscarriages before. So if you want to talk to somebody who has been there, you can contact me. I know it was only 5 days. I know I was pregnant for 5 days and I lost the baby. But it doesn't matter how long you hold your baby for, whether it's 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months. You know, you were a mother, you are a mother, and it wasn't your fault. So yeah, like I said, I tried to get pregnant a month or two. My camera's gonna run a minute. So like I said, I tried to get pregnant straight away again, but this time I was a lot more, I don't know, like in October I did a pregnancy test before I felt pregnant, before my period was late, before anything, just because I was so desperate to be pregnant. And then in November I actually did fall pregnant, and I remember a week before I found out I was pregnant, I said to my husband, if we're not pregnant this month, I think I need to take a bit of time to sort my head out and to get over it a little bit. You know, maybe take 3 months off, not think about being pregnant, and actually process what had happened. The fact that I was pregnant and I'd lost a baby. It's, you know, it's a big deal. It's not something just to brush over, forget about, pretend it didn't happen. It did happen, and I needed time to get over that. But actually I did fall pregnant in November. And that is a different story, which will be in the next video. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to telling this story, but anyway, go on to the next video if you've watched this one already. Okay, so that's all for this video. I know it was a short one, but the next one will probably be 3 million hours long. Please leave a comment below if you've been through something similar. Let's all help each other and support each other, show each other some love. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.